community character, housing, and it sort of serves as this overarching umbrella document that helps guide the village in terms of its future growth and character and visions and desires for the future. As noted, it helps us to look to the past, analyzing past trends, future projections in housing and population growth in order to identify where growth might be most appropriate or where the village desires to direct that growth. It establishes goals. We use public participation and input to help affirm or to add to the direction of these goals and strategies within the plan. It can help us identify areas for growth and development, as I mentioned, but also for preservation of natural areas, for example, or community character, or other aspects of the community that are important to the village. We'll also be looking at recommended land uses for specific areas. So we'll be doing mapping exercises that help us identify if there's future growth in housing, for example, where the most appropriate place for that might be, or how we might want to direct commercial development if there's demand for that as well. We'd also be looking at plans for important city services like transportation, utilities, and that sort of thing. The Village of Williams Bay does have a strong planning history going all the way back to 1922 with some of its first documents. Various iterations have come out over the years, again with the most recent plan being 2010, and that's the document that we're revisiting tonight in accordance with state statutes and to look at updated trends and village input as well. As part of the specific comprehensive plan update, I'm showing the schedule on the screen in terms of what we're anticipating, but we did kick this off back in November with a village meeting, a joint conversation with the Plan Commission and the Village Board just to get things started, and we've been working our way through over the winter months with some public input activities. So earlier today we were meeting with various focus groups on different topics, including a fun conversation with high school students, and we're concluding the day's activities today with all of you in our visioning workshop. We'll continue to take that public input, use it as we analyze our data and our projections, start drafting the plan and meeting the statutory requirements of the plan, and that'll continue through this spring. We anticipate getting somewhere into summer of 2022 with a draft plan. At that point, there will be additional opportunities for the public to view the plan in progress. We anticipate an open house at the end of summer, and finally with adoption around that time. I mentioned some of the public input activities that we have undertaken to date, and we have a few slides here just as sort of a primer to help you just think about some of the things that have been mentioned to date, and then we'll continue to add to this list with all of you this evening. At the Joint Plan Commission and Village Board meeting, some of the key takeaways were a desire to maintain the small town character, to address aging infrastructure, things like water capacity or sewage treatment plant capacity. We want to look at promoting the revitalization of the central business district and ways that that can improve. There were desires to maintain recreational and institutional assets like the Conservancy as well as your Bees Observatory. Some desire to promote new senior housing options, some identification of potential growth areas and where that might go, as well as some operational aspects of the village like addressing the future of fire and EMS. There were also some other community conversations and input activities that we are grateful to have an opportunity to add into this. They're not hosted by the village nor Vanderwall and Associates, but as noted, these groups were kind enough to share some of the feedback with us. The library hosted community conversations funded by a grant. These were hosted and participated in by service providers. Some of the key takeaways from these conversations included a potential existence of barriers to accessing services. So a potential perception that some vulnerable populations may have difficulty accessing certain government services or community assets. One example of that might be a higher cost of real estate or housing as a barrier to a younger family or someone earlier in their career being able to buy a home in Williams Bay, for example. In addition, there's the Business Association Community Survey, our understanding is that this is a comprehensive survey that's done fairly frequently. And there was a very good turnout. I think 800 survey responses returned to the Business Association, and they asked some great questions. Overall, as you might not be surprised, respondents and village residents really value the high quality of life in Williams Bay as well as the lake. Some identified areas for where commercial growth could be accommodated, noting Highway 67 North. And then in the economic development and business attraction section of questions, residents identified strong support for specialty shops, grocery and restaurants, as well as in the residential section supporting new single-family development, as well as potentially considering some other senior housing options, whether that's condos or townhome development. From here, I'll turn it over to Ben. He'll help guide us through the rest of the evening.
Well, and thank you, Sonia. Just to piggyback on that, the survey results, I believe, will be fully public here pretty shortly in a summary document. So if you did take that survey, they will be available for all results here pretty soon. But I want to thank all of you for coming out this evening. We've kind of designed this workshop to allow for everybody to participate, whether that be writing down your individual answers, discussion with the small group, or reporting out to this larger group. And we've got three main parts of today's meeting, where we're going to talk about what makes the village unique, what are our assets, challenges, what are some opportunities out there, look at potential areas of growth or change, some transportation improvement components that might be needed, and then also prioritizing what we think is kind of the most important aspects of what we need to address here over the next 5 to 10 years. So with that, part 1, 2, and 3 will be kind of 30-minute sections here. And so what we'll do here is provide the opportunity for you to write down your individual answers on a sheet, then discuss it with your small group, and then we'll report out, and then we'll kind of shift gears to the next one. And Sonia and I will help direct that traffic. But generally speaking, part 1 is we're going to talk about what values, assets, challenges, opportunities we have in the village today moving forward. Part 2 is going to be looking at that large map on your table and getting to draw on it, put some stickers, add some notes. And then finally talk a little bit about prioritization in terms of what we want to really prioritize here over the next 5 to 10 years. So let's start with part 1. Everybody should have a packet of materials. At the header, it'll say part 1. Underneath it will be part 2, and so on. Underneath that will be part 3. Part 1 is values, assets, challenges, opportunities. What we will ask you to do is first fill in your own answers individually. Write them in. If you do need a writing utensil or paper, let us know and we can provide that. Then about 5-10 minutes after everybody in your group has had an opportunity to do that, you come back as the small group that you're in and have a discussion about that, and then transition to where we'll have one representative from each table kind of stand up and tell us a summary a little bit about what they heard at that table. As you will also see in the center of your tables, there is an agenda. That's a yellow sheet, and then underneath that is a recorder form. So what we would ask in each small group you have here, that you assign a role. Basically, during that kind of small group discussion, you have somebody who has some decent handwriting and the ability to jot down your group's notes so we're capturing them. In addition to kind of having someone identified to speak in front of a large group in terms of generally telling us what you've heard or and a kind of brief summary of that. So we'd ask you to briefly assign your roles within your small group itself, and make sure that you kind of document everything as we go, because that's really valuable. We want to hear from as many people about as much as we can here this evening, and so as much that can get documented in these discussions will be very, very helpful. We will be bouncing around from table to table. If you have any questions, if you need any help, please feel free. But if you have the opportunity, let's dive into writing on that first sheet, the assets, challenge, opportunities. Feel free to write in what your opinion is, and then we'll get to those small group discussions here in about 10 or so minutes.
The big message that this does is just the Terra connection, the Kishwaukee Tunnel airplanes, the shoreline.
I agree. Just full disclosure, my name's Don Parker.
Hi, Don.
I've been a trustee for a long time. So
Okay,
I'm going to
good.
try to listen more.
Okay.
Comment if you have questions. A lot of it was now. Participate.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
On board? Yeah, yeah. I've been on the board.
Thanks for the disclosure.
I'm not running again, so I'm not here to get you.
Oh, that's funny.
I would say too, I don't know, a small town.
I said quaint. It's quaint.
Yeah, it's a small town.
It's such an important thing for us to preserve.
No parking.
Yes. That's huge.
I like all the resident parks.
Because that came up in my, today and in the future, one of the most significant challenges, because traffic and parking and all that, with population growth or commercial and residential development, we have to think about that. Traffic and parking, because that's one of the things we all love about Williams Bay is A, we can walk everywhere, and B, we don't have to park. It discourages me from going into the I am not a parent, but I would assume that education or education.
Oh, yeah.
is important.
conversations was like. And because this meeting is live streamed on YouTube, unfortunately I gotta put somebody on the spot with a microphone. So hopefully there's somebody in each group who will volunteer to stand up and kind of give us a really brief summary of your discussion. Yeah. So, no. So, in terms of this table's right here, what came out of your discussion?
Hello everyone. We decided to go first because we have unique ideas and then you guys are following us. So what we did was came to the 3 ideas. For the top values of our town, we are a small town, we're friendly, and have a safe feeling. We have the natural resources, for instance, Yerkes and KNC. We have the historical value. For our top assets, we have the lakefront, native history, again, Yerkes and KNC, and we also have our wonderful Edgewater Park. Our top challenges, we came up with 4, the raising taxes, overcoming bureaucracy, joint collaboration, feedback from the village, and top opportunities, utilizing and caring for the parks, and enforcing our businesses to improve their property.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Does this group have someone who would volunteer? Thank you.
I can volunteer. Like they said, without repeating a lot of the other items that were already mentioned, local grant. Natural charm is one of the top assets. The location of the village, we're equidistant from Chicago, Madison, and Milwaukee. And there are towns big enough with big box stores nearby, but not in the village. And in terms of top challenges, the biggest one seems to be balancing growth and quality of life. The village has been growing, and we need to make sure that that balance is maintained. Affordability of housing is a challenge. We'd like to bring in some younger families. I think that this has been a great place for people who normally work at home. It's a great place for that. And one of the challenges is sticking to the ordinances that we have, making sure that they're enforced.
Thank you. Does this table have a volunteer? Thank you.
It's similar. I don't want to repeat, but let me. Our top values of this town is a small town feel of a neighborhood within the village. We love the good schools, the natural setting and wildlife. It's not too large. We love our dark skies and we hate light pollution. Community events are another value that we have here. The Corn Brat Festival, and we like that there's not a lot of tourism here. We like locals. Top assets, Yerkes, GW College, the lakefront, Kishwaukee. We love music on the lake, those cultural events that are offered by all those locations. Our top challenge, we think, is we need is controlled growth, not to overbuild, not to become so commercial like our neighbors in LG. Enough commerce to accommodate the residents in an infrastructure as the village has grown. I said that right? Infrastructure as, I wrote something. As village has grown. There we go. I think
That's great. Thank you very much. Do we have somebody from this table?
Hi, we pretty much agreed with most people here, but we put our top value that we thought were the garbage pickup, the leaf pickup, the snow removal, our taxes, the quietness, the friendliness, our nature areas, our lakefront, and the drinking water. Our top assets, we discussed the observatory, our beachfront, Kishwaukee, our boat launch, and our schools. The top challenges we thought would be another, same as the asset, but a challenge is also the boat launch since it's so busy. And then coming back from COVID. And our opportunities would be to rehab existing buildings, the public transportation, and utilize our public beach.
Thank you. Anybody from this table? Thank you.
I was heartened by most responses were pretty much the same. Valuing most about the community would be the small town atmosphere, the lakefront, the shore path, the pride of our communities, lifestyles, the family environments. Historically, most important part, same thing, nature, lake, wildlife areas, excellent school, excellent teachers, fantastic teachers. Limiting business would be a high priority. Limiting traffic, it would be horrible to find stoplights in Williams Bay. So small town living is pretty much the priority. Limiting commercial growth too. You can shop everywhere else, Elkhorn, Lake Geneva, Delavan, etc. Delavan exploded. So I've been here 40 years. I'd say keep the small town atmosphere.
Well, thank you. Is a volunteer from this group? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, they volunteered me. Okay, we have a lot of similar ones too, but I think that's good. Natural resources for top values, Kishwaukee, the lakefront, the observatory, the shore path. There's a great sense of community and pride that we have here, a real small-time feeling, quaint, low traffic, walkability, free resident parking. The education is excellent, the personal attention that our kids get. Safety, feeling that we're in a safe community and how the residents that live here permanently really keep watch on our second homeowners. In addition to that, top assets, we also considered Kishwaukee, the shore path, the lakefront, the observatory. Also our resources like the dog park, the library expansion, having tennis courts, the boat launch, but we also had some concerns as well. Also the addition of now having lake toys that are rented out down at the lakefront and the beach. Top challenges included downtown development, having a comprehensive plan to keep that small town charm. A lot of talk about wanting to have kind of that town square sort of feel. We talked a lot about the EMS and fire service and the challenges that were faced there. And then also a water system upgrade. In addition to that, we had traffic, keep it walkable, bikeable, and definitely mindful development, including the aesthetic and height restrictions. With the top opportunities, we have the fire station, maybe consider that an opportunity for commercial development and relocate it to over by the Village Town Hall. Add a bike path. Consider architecturally as a priority with regards to all development. Study other communities of success with similar objectives regarding growth and aesthetics. I think Lake Forest came to mind. Nantucket also got a lot of votes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody at this table?
We pretty much agree with everything about everybody said today. The one thing I'd like to see that they do, I brought this postcard like from the early 40s, late 30s, and I'd like to see more trees planted because I know when they tell homeowners when you're building a house, if you take a tree out, you have to replace the trees. I'd like to see more trees in the downtown area. It'll help with, you know, like when pavement gets too hot, shade. I don't know, what else do we have, guys? Yeah, light pollution. We have a lot of pluses. We got a lot of property on the outskirts of town. I'd like to see a golf course over at Yerkes. I'd like to see that built up. I'd like to see a satellite fire station. Keep the fire station that we have, because it's central, and then have a bigger fire station possibly by the town hall. That's all I got.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Do we have a volunteer here? Thank you.
It's very difficult to find anything that hasn't already been mentioned. But in the sense of community, one of the things we wrote down that I don't think I heard anybody mention is the number of civic organizations that we have in this town that are very active is a big value that we saw. We see obviously many of the same top assets. We also added the Central Business District into ours. I thought I was going to be the first one to mention EMS, but you guys beat us to it. We see also an affordability challenge in the community from a standpoint of lower value homes and opportunities like that could be a challenge coming. And then our top opportunities is the redevelopment of downtown.
Thank you. Got a volunteer here? Perfect.
We had a lot of similar comments. We felt like we have a lot of generous people in our small town. We feel it's a very safe community. We love lake life, the beach, the lake path, accessibility to our community services, and great schools. Our top assets we felt were the lake, Yerkes, Kishwaukee, our restaurants, having the only restaurant on the lake. Let's see here, our library, I think I mentioned great schools. Challenges, we have traffic in general, and particularly around the boat launch, the lack of a safe pedestrian path on Theater Road, and just connecting our community in general. Kind of keeping our young families involved, as well as having opportunities for our aging population. Attracting young families to the area with the cost of housing going up, which is in turn impacting our schools. I don't know that this has been mentioned, but with the housing cost going up and the lack of younger families coming in, we're starting to have trouble with our young class sizes, which is going to trickle through as the students get older, and also keeping our students in our school. And then top opportunities, forming EMS was another comment, maybe forming a partnership with surrounding communities or building on that, having more opportunities for pedestrian path or developing the Theater Road field that used to be the soccer field, reaching out to other groups and getting input from them of all ages, marketing our schools, and again, access to young families. I wish that there were more young families here tonight too, so getting them to come to these events. Thank you.
Appreciate it. You guys kind of got stuck with the end of the line here. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of things that weren't said?
Really not all that much. A lot of great comments. I guess a couple of things that we'd like to say is the excellent schools, which got brought up a couple times at the end. The public safety, which is a testament to Dr. White and Chief Tim. We appreciate their work and what they do in our community. The one thing about the downtown area that we talked about is I hear this theme of keeping the small town charm, and I think we're all pretty much on the same page there. But seeing some kind of concrete, actionable plan that's going to kind of revitalize it or make it a little more attractive. But to keep that smallness to it. So that's basically not much more we can add. But thank you.
No, yeah, no problem. You guys kind of got stuck with after 10 tables. All right. Well, thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate that. And so we're going to move to the next activity here for about a half an hour. And that has to do with that big map that you've got directly in front of you. I know the back two tables do not, and so unfortunately you guys are going to have to kind of buddy up with another table for this exercise, and I do apologize for that. And the pink sheet, part 2, mapping, at the top it says, you've got a kind of a a legend, more or less, that kind of guides you as to the stickers and the pens on your table. So what we're going to ask you to do is work collectively as a small group to identify using the stars for specific areas and markers to kind of draw lines and stuff like that. Feel free to document directly on the map with notes and or on the back of the sheet itself. What we're looking for you to do is kind of think through each of these different opportunities, whether that be redevelopment, kind of an underutilized site, where would those be located? Put an orange star there. If there's a preservation area, like we've heard several of those this evening, place a blue star there. Green would be for a gathering place, so something like a park or in the boat launch, for instance. Transportation issues, use the pink star, so this could be an intersection issue. It could be where the sidewalk ends or where we need a trail, something like that. Yellow is for if we would like to see new residential in a particular area. Red would be new commercial, and purple would be industrial. The three markers are for drawing in areas such as new roads, new bicycle or pedestrian sidewalk connections, and the brown would just be to document the notes itself. We will be bouncing around tables to help you guys if you have questions as we go, but just kind of collectively talk amongst yourselves and start placing dots on the map, and we'll get the large group back together here in about 25 minutes.
But the people are on demand. So they park to their here and go in and around, and they drive into the ambulance and then drive. They're all volunteers. Oh, they're all volunteers. So go ahead and fire them. Really doesn't matter if they're just your volunteers. Yeah, he said it. Oh, it's fall? No, help each other.
And it says Williams Bay, Geneva, They have the bank next door and then the post office. No, you're supposed to draw the little red. Really? It says they're opening again? 6 months of the year. What about the, go to Rogers Park. You say you're in Rogers Park? Expand the park. By the park.
The traffic from Gage Marine and here to it gets so crowded. And so, of course, with all the other traffic coming and going in the summer.
The park that's over there, that's off the shore path.
I would like to put a corner of Geneva.
Yeah, no building.
Pink stuff. The areas where roadways are in need of improvement or extension, where congestion occurs or dangerous intersections.
Okay, so it is free.
Wait, when you're coming from like 290 during the summer? No, but I mean it's crowded.
If you have 10 minutes.
Maybe it needs a second step.
Something break it up. I'm not saying a stop. That means no change.
That's more that's what we talked about.
Yeah, well, you know,
to improve existing facility down the hill. So this public place is such as schools, libraries, parks. Well, we could leave green. I mean, you could put green all over there.
In the winter, you have flat. I had a guy 30 years ago.
Or parking for what? Are you parking for boats or for what?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
So this is the
That's this one, I think. That one's the first. This one is what you're talking about right there. That's what you're right next to.
You're answering questions. So they want to use.
So that was the one you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's not our property. That's the parking. That's the existing parking.
There's another one.
Across the street. She's talking the one he's talking about. Yes, boy, I do like it. That property would have to be
the green space.
in order to go down 50. Right. It is nice having the residents say that. So that way you can just preserve residents. I'm just saying, that's that turnaround. That's just it's temporary. In the village.
Is this right by Village?
Absolutely. Sure.
I'm just saying, actually, Marty Hanley's room. Yeah, it's Marty.
Right now, when that's full,
I would expand the choice here and have some kind of show. You shouldn't be able to take people to actual force.
well, that's what
They just put their vote in here. Because if we had some shuttles, we would the parking here, push it away. Push some of the traffic. Shuttles people back and forth. That may open up. No, but maybe you reduce the parking by the launch and utilize that more as lakefront. Push the parking back and some people may be shuttles. You don't have all young people dropping boats and trying to go to the park.
It's right by the but I've never heard a DOT guy. And, there's a lot of things that may or may not be actually have a perfect transportation. It's what? A lot of things everything else. So we do can't put a sign board up. Yeah, they're looking at square footage. Rather than the stop signs, there's no difference. There's no stop sign. Coming down. Deep hill and 67 coming down. And I don't think they want somebody stopping. Yeah, they would come in and they would, then they would get to me in one space and say, yes, and hand it back up. Because semis are apparently down and you're like, oh! We asked.
Yeah,
we want to what do you want? Oh, you're representing paper. So there's 3 homes all the way up. Yeah, but we have extra territory. So this is all farmland.
So it's really, really different.
Right, yeah, that's weird. So you're not so how do you find out? So what it is, we all realize it. So extra territory is only what that did is basically the county. That's what I usually understand. Wasn't there money approved for it? I know the state turned it down. They applied for $3,000. We got turned down. Go up to the North Woods, there's bike paths, miles and miles. We can get this to the bike path. Start. Well, yeah, the plan was, I mean, I'm serious. We got permission for development to use this was the right way. What kind of branch? So There kind of is now. I walk that all the time. Pavement as a bike path. I think they have a quote on bike paths.
Right.
Are you all Paley Estates? No, we're in Cedar Point. Kind of Cedar Point.
Okay, so we've identified the area coming out of Captain Calmar, where people start to show across there rather than up to the and then Theater Road. And for all the corner stars are preservation,
I'm at up in Williams Bay.
Preservation area. Right, but it can never be subdivided into multiple residences.
Well, I would imagine Chicago fire is 2 fire acres. My guess. 12 acres. Single family home. He tore down an old home and built a new place. Also, and there could be one more business residence. The residence right here. Yeah, you can see it now. That's a lot. That's obviously
I know a guy who lives by your
You're on a lot like so her plan is to build one more king. Yeah, Park Street. That is she's building a house here right now. And he does have a second. There's It's like a White House on the side of the road there. That's the, how many lots are sold? They tore that down? There's 12 lots. Yeah, just subdivision. What he wants to do is, that's a don't touch that.
Just for all of us, just to say, like, we want to be protected.
Just look at the plat, 12 lots. I believe they have it all on there. They've been to plan commission. He's in the bay, and this will Bay was. So, I believe no one probably wanted to live there. They don't have to do anything to put in roads. But to annex this piece, when we do our water system, we include this. It's already in the middle of the facility. Just like the old school. Yeah, we are. I mean, he's come back. He didn't call me. But we should. Well, he may be talking to Tony. It has to blend into the resident. What do you use the
You can see all of it.
My personal redevelopment is going to private property. People that own them.
Right. And they don't.
And you do the infrastructure. I heard somebody earlier coming. I go to Boulder Junction. Drive through that little town. Everybody has a well-kept sign. They got together and their signs all look the same. 2 days. Yeah, but you know, it wasn't a lot on their part. They did it 30 years ago, but they just wanted to present the residential.
No, he said people can't.
Well, you can have sign ordinances, but people have screamed at all the buildings and village government is back up. I'll leave it at that. You need to shut it
Property. I was just going to say to our friends that just joined us.
No, I'm not really going to get that.
Well, thank you.
So based on the knowledge you have, our ideas in order to say this is oh no, it's not the school. So this is the downtown.
We were thinking the street that goes up to the park. Oh, okay.
Between there.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Expansion wall was there.
Yeah. But the schools are already
The old school, what did you just say? Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
They'll get it. They'll understand.
Turn it into, we're running out of house. Shipping
Painting the top. They're running out of
like they do assessments for
Kristen's fighting a problem. Just leave it.
so we had
start. And this is transportation. You had talked about. They had some sports activities.
They were just like,
They're already in the black.
He said they were really big.
Yeah.
I think that was supposed to be the locker rooms.
So yeah, I don't know anything else to be orange. That is the power company.
I just want to, they want to path, sidewalk.
So that was
So what are we supposed to do? So what are we supposed to, where is that? Where is that?
right in the
And do we want it orange? No, it's pink. No, we want to make sure that they can go to the bathroom. We want to make sure that the bathroom. I'm just doing the sidewalk.
This is
we could say a better.
and if there's a, oh, that is that. How many times so these are
Because we have to make sure we have our wall with the and we have to make sure that whoever puts
that's a cover. If you had got another subdivision, I'm not sure where did that
Yes, you can. We're not in the business. I think Mike, don't hold me to it. And I think
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
I was trying to
Oh, yeah, I know.
we had to get two parking spaces for each tenement on the property. We had underground garage. I think it is. What you're referring to is the commercial spaces. Does it have to have it? Does it require?
Residential does.
Are you sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure also.
That may be true for the commercial, but I couldn't.
Yes, Jim, anything Jim does.
Current ownership.
Yeah, I would find that hard to believe. Resi usually has to have 2 for 1.
It's based on square footages or bedrooms or something.
Exactly.
Because if you
Our farm is 47.
and you have to deal with it, it's a lot different than if you go visit and then go back, for example, to the suburban areas of Williams Bay. You leave it, you're stuck. And that I understand
bought this
need to develop their properties for it, but they have to take into consideration.
Or it was built for settling ponds because Lions Park was your sewage treatment. You throw your crap up there. And then, well, walking fertile land. But then walking that thing in and did a regional county-wide thing. So now you're using
newspapers and online. We didn't know
there.
Never found out about it until our neighbor went to refinance his multi-unit, and he had an issue with his finance bill because it was zoned single-family residence. Correct. So what happens with situations like the development on a corner like this, we're directly impacted by their overflow. They have a very similar,
if you're in a hole.
petition from the village to issue resident, and they give you a sticker. They do this all over Big Watch. Suburbs out of probably Rogers Park, they have it. In other words, you have a sticker that you put on your car or your name on your, and it's only for people that live on that street. And if somebody parks there, they get a ticket. Well, you can give him a sticker, or he puts his car on it. He puts his car there, and you know it's there. Pull the driver.
Or a
I've never seen
We deal on a
on a regular basis.
Yes, bring on Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's! They don't want parking. It's within the zone.
5 more minutes.
Save us a drive.
Yeah. I go to Lake Zurich.
Probably the only one level. Sales tax. That's also a way.
I like to
Pardon me?
Get a flat roof,
Pretty a lot of clouds.
Their drivers are running out. They don't allow there's a lot of times when guns were taken out.
I did. Because with the cloud, you realize that his in and out service really is quite a bit compared to those speed bumps. They wouldn't like that at all. So,
It takes him out.
but then again, why when all of this development and it sounds if you're not ready to
they had gas pumps on the corner, because I've seen pictures. Or it might have been small. It might have been a small one.
And then about 10 years. Probably.
The last 10-year plan.
And again, they didn't do anything wrong, they properly used it. But unless you're on that website on a daily or weekly basis, you'll miss it. Or if you don't, you got changes coming to your traffic.
You get all the different phases.
Well, phase 2.
Who objected to putting redevelopment on campaign? Redevelop.
They want it to be a brewery. In the south loop, there was an old fire.
Open minded. Okay. So is this because I don't want to force this?
I heard it burned down.
Orange and red.
And it's too bad. I mean, it was the old, it still had the stable and back. Oh, really?
And a new condo building, 10 stories. That's what I heard. I got my heart.
You'll win.
10 stories.
Could you make that like a community area, like a community thing? Could you have like hookah dancing? You know,
It'll be brand new.
School did a referendum. They did a referendum, they got money for it. Oh, there's no parking for
Well, there'll be parking at new condo. It's not going to take up the whole site. There's 2 acres. There's 2 acres. So they building and then they have parking in the basement.
they paid for that lot of land.
No, the condo owner,
because one tear it down. And then now, once you put the cost of tearing it down, and then the lot. Although with what's happening in real estate,
Well, that age. That's where they have kids. Probably more than that. You know, I think when they went to referendum to build this, I think it was 450. I heard it went up to 600. I think he's doing that. What do we want to do? One developer. I know what we want to do. One thing we want to do is see the how do we disband these schools? We're paying for all those things. Your roads are too small for us. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Jim, this table wants to know two things. And I hope you can answer it. And one of them is, some of the girls trying to put them in court. Well, I mean, what's, they don't have to have parking in commercial space, but what's the code for the residential?
So you did it. He told me that he said it went to appeal.
I did see that.
But to your point, if it's a bigger unit, sometimes it requires one.
They wanted us to put them in.
No, but you have to maintain it.
If you have a 3-bedroom unit,
I was on the developer does it. The other thing, depends on the zoning. Roads have to be brought up to a certain standard,
And then they donate.
and then the city takes it.
We don't take a road from any of these subdivisions until
They live on your area. You're right. Otherwise, you're taking on a liability. The other question is, where is the, if they have it, where is the creek being rerouted?
I think it might be an opposite thing. You gave all those roads to us. I don't think it's going to go.
All right, guys.
There you go. Forget
One more
it.
activity. Got one more activity to do here this evening, trying to squeeze that in.
I've got to research it,
I
but
want to
you know
respect
how
your time to reach out here. Clock exactly, so if everybody could kind of migrate back to their table if they had to join up, I do appreciate you guys being flexible and doing that. So we'll take all that map information that you provided to us and kind of summarize it and bring it all together. And we will scan each one of those individually, and they'll be in the plan itself in the draft, so you'll be able to see kind of what everybody else said as well. But we don't necessarily have the time or the ability to kind of have everybody share what they talked about with the maps. So we're going to move to the final part of our evening here, and that is talking a little bit about prioritization. We heard a lot of similar thoughts in part one, and I bounced around to a couple of different tables and heard a lot of great conversation. But we want to take a lot of what we talked about tonight and kind of work on how we can prioritize that for the future over the next decade. And that will really help us and the village as we kind of dive into the plan writing itself and trying to focus on what the residents of the community really want to focus the village's efforts on here over the next decade. So there's a yellow sheet at each one of your tables. At the top, it's part 3. You'll see that there's a few different lines there. This is going to be similar to activity 1 in that each individual person we're going to ask to jot down their top priority for the village here to address over the next 5-10 years. Then you're going to talk within your small group. Again, have someone hopefully document 1 or 2 top priorities that your group kind of comes to a consensus on. and then we're gonna go around the room and have everybody kind of share. Sonia will jot down those ideas so everybody can see here on the top board what our top priorities are as a group together. So if you could get started writing your individual notes, and we'll bounce around tables if you have questions.
She's not doing chemo, right? She already finished, because that's the hard part, right? Yeah, my friend's going through lung cancer. Great, great. Yeah, he's in good shape. Really? It's strange. I mean, a guy built a 10-unit building, and he doesn't have to have parking on site.
I did too.
Have you ever seen that? I've been in real estate since the mid-70s. I've never seen anything. Yeah. I mean, I've seen some boom times, you know, and I've seen the worst too. Oh, yeah. Even up here, I've seen it up here. You couldn't sell a lake house and save your life. Where do you live on Bay Estates? That way?
That's why I'm not who left security.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, generally.
Yeah, compared to like Fontana, you know, Lynn is probably the best. Lynn Town, so it's close all the way over to this side of Lake County, Nevada. So you have it on the south, and you have it on the north. And they're probably
Then we'll get a clear consent.
what are 1.5 or something?
What I mean is,
If there is
No, neither do I. I just found my.
Yeah, that's it.
No one should complain about real estate taxes in Williams Bay. Yeah. Well, mine, I just saw my mortgage statement that I had in my house. And I bought my house in River Forest, Illinois, Park River Forest. It was $600. Yeah, you know, the highest they've been in the last year is 20,000.
Anything you keep.
Yeah, and I've lived there for 40 years, but 600 to 20,000 a night. Yes. And what did they? What were they when you moved? Yeah, that's fairly reasonable. Yeah.
All right, we're got a minute or two left. If you haven't had your discussion with your group, please do that. We want to leave a little bit of time here at the end to have everyone talk in a large group, but
Okay, how about the antique mall and the current green grocery development area?
Did you go to the village pub all the time?
There you go. Okay, that would be good, okay.
and it's like sitting in.
Done. Yeah.
Just give it to them. Kind of like you have the views.
Because they're so close to the creek, they'd be in violation of your ordinance. To move the creek and make it, to move the creek, to build a new one elsewhere, $3 million. It's easier to do.
But how much priority, I mean, how much some of these schools are taking, is our cash,
Yes, it would. Yes, a little bit. If they rewrite this creek from here, the land goes on both sides.
Did you do the?
Yeah, so it'd be, part. Jim said he'd send me a mail.
And I think for a lot of that, it means that it's
okay, we're gonna wrap up here this evening. We want to hear from each group. I want to walk around and hand off the microphone to the courageous volunteer at each table who would like to talk in front of the large group. We would like to hear what your group, one or two top priorities from your group. I have a feeling that we might hear similar or the same. And if there's other top priorities beyond what's already been spoken, we want to document those as well. Sonia will rate each of those down here as we go. But each table, 1 or 2 top priorities.
Okay, what we have here is enforce the ordinances for improving on the existing rundown properties. Maintain the natural resources. Focus on the green space and manage taxes.
Give Sonia a chance to catch up. Did you get them all? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. You guys deserve to go first. Second now.
I just put a 2-story building maximum, 2-story height, watching the height of buildings, especially near the lake. That's all right.
That's your group's top priority, maximum height limit of 2 stories.
Launch.
And boat launch congestion. A downtown vision and plan. A cohesive look at downtown through a vision and plan. Okay. Get caught up here. Anybody at this table want to volunteer? Sorry. You had too many? Okay, I'll come back. 1 or 2 top priorities from this table.
Yeah. So our priorities that we saw coming were some infrastructure. Because of some of the people here at the table, we see some problems with having enough water in the village, so we see that as a priority. We see Yerkes, making sure that that continues as a priority, that it continues to exist and expand and improve. And the other thing we have on our list that I don't know has been mentioned yet is a walk/bike path connecting some of the theater road development back into the village.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Is this table prepared? Okay.
Yeah, we got a couple. We can add a couple different ones. We have a long list here. The electrical system, electrical overhead wires need to go on the ground. We're going to be more dependent on electricity. And there's plenty of electricity, but the transportation system is weak. We need charging stations for electrical cars. We need affordable housing for young and old. And is that on there yet? Attracting young families is one. I think everything else is on there, right? Yeah. Yeah, everything else is on the list.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. You guys narrowed it down to a couple?
We have about 15. Do we have time? A lot of these have been said, so we're just going to add to it with traffic management. We also think that a sidewalk needs to be put in on Theater Road for those developments. Oh, sorry if it's a repeat. In addition to that, tax incentify businesses that come into the downtown that are mindful of our comprehensive downtown development plan. So we sort of have to have that in place. And then finally, I think it wasn't said before, but maybe upgrading our internet capacity with fiber optics.
That's great. Does this group have volunteer for one or two top priorities?
Well, we just basically are this kind of the same that it's already been talked about. Buildings in Williams Bay to be held to a certain standard, improve recreational facilities in Williams Bay, and then the boat launching and the traffic for the boat.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right. This table would like to...
Okay, carefully plan and improve the growth of the downtown area while keeping with the small town character. And then preserve the preservation of the parks and the historic sites.
Did you get both, Sonia? Okay. Come to this table next, one or two top priorities.
Again, similarly with everybody else's tables about keeping a small town feel, that would encompass so many comments already made. This one I think is really important, and that is a real specific pieces of information posted on the website. It's always very vague, and I've heard this from a lot of people. They just give a topic and that's about it. And a lot of people are busy with their lives and so forth. And I think there needs to be more detail on the village website about what's going on. If you open up a PDF or something like that, it should be very specific about what's going on. Like this focus group that was held today, I didn't hear a thing about it. And I scoured that website, I didn't see anything. So I want to ask a quick question. Who here was in that focus group today? That's it. Look at a couple people. Yeah, I didn't get a letter. Why didn't I get a letter? What's that? Yeah, regular mail. And so a lot of people had said to me last night on a Facebook post that we're really not getting the information. So, you know, this focus group can't just entail one group of people like business owners and so forth. We should be better informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Does this group have one or two top priorities?
Yeah, one or two. Keep the lake clean. That seems to be a prime attraction to the village, and so we need to take care of that. Other than that, everything else has been said, but it's really quality of life, like he said over here. It all revolves around that.
Thank you. And the last table here.
A lot of things have been said already, but we've got the small town character, infrastructure for water piping, the supply, and a historic town square at 67 in Elkhorn with beautification of that from the lakefront up that road to make it more of a small town feel. And then last but not least, traffic control from westward, from Pierce's to downtown and reroute truck traffic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, that will conclude our meeting this evening. Before you leave, wanted to just let you know that the next steps for the process will document everything we heard this evening, summarize that information, and begin drafting the document itself. Planning to have draft reviews occur with the Plan Commission and the Village Board during the spring, and then bring the document back to the public in the summer in an open forum setting where we can hear information from the public on the draft itself and gather feedback prior to adoption, which we'll seek later on this summer. All drafts of the document itself will be available on the website as we progress through the process. I did leave my business card up here in the front. If you would like to email me directly, feel free. Yes? That will be a... No, it'll be a draft version of the plan, but we want to get through a couple meetings with the Plan Commission and the Village Board, and then have a closer to final draft put together. Oh, yeah, sorry. So yeah, that would be a draft review, gather some more public input before we seek adoption. So with that said, we do appreciate you all coming out. This was a fantastic show of support. Thank you all. If you could turn in your worksheets, either leave them at your table or at that box, that would be greatly appreciated so we can document everything this evening. Thank you. Drive safe. Have a great rest of your night.